Baylor wins the Big 12 title outright for the first time since 2013. Their 11th win of the season. That ties the most in a single season school history. Congrats to Dave Aranda and his kids.
Job well done.
How about the redshirt freshman, Chapin? 23 of 28, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Look, they scored all of the 3 touchdowns in the first half, but they hang on.
Yes, and then the red zone woes for Oklahoma State led to the loss, in my opinion. Not getting into the end zone, settling for 3 points.
Baylor +7, Chip Patterson, Tom Fornelli telling you to take Baylor earlier on HQ. Also, Todd Furman telling you to take the under on HQ as well, as our experts go 3 for 3. Baylor, Big 12 champs. Bearing down on Spencer Sanders was the theme here for the Baylor salty defense. They forced Spencer Sanders to throw 4 interceptions, B-Mac. I mean, he was just put in all kind of bad opportunities, bad positions, and they just could not overcome it.
No question, and that's what I said earlier. They were able to overcome his 3 turnovers the first meeting because they ran the ball so well. Jaylen Warren was unstoppable. But remember, he left this ball game early, and they could not establish a ground game.
He threw 7 interceptions against Baylor this season in the 2 games they played. 7 picks. Compare that to the rest of the teams. 5. I mean, Spencer Sanders, Baylor just had Spencer Sanders' number this season as Baylor takes care of business and wins the Big 12 champion and likely knocks out Oklahoma State from the college football playoff spot. All right, you heard Bryant McFadden. Now let's see Bryant McFadden. And what we saw in the Big 12 title game, B-Mac, was a defensive clinic from Baylor as they forced Spencer Sanders into some mistakes. One of the picks, not his fault, but ultimately it's Baylor's defense that holds serve here at the end of the game.
And Baylor's defense, this wasn't a surprise because they had a lot of success against Sanders in their first meeting, but they just couldn't stop the rushing attack from the Cowboys. In today's outing, they played phenomenal football on the ground and in the air versus Spencer Sanders. And because of that, they were able to give their young quarterback confidence early in the ball game. Favorable field position for him to capitalize on, and he was able to do so. Dave Aranda and his staff, I mean, the job they've done the entire season, especially on the defensive side, was nothing less than spectacular. Not having your starting quarterback, playing against a red-hot team in Oklahoma State. You saw how much success Oklahoma State's defense had last week against Oklahoma. I mean, everything was in favor of Oklahoma State being able to prevail and win this ball game. But the game has to be played. The red zone success from Baylor was a thing of beauty for me. Because if they allow one of those touchdowns, opportunities in the red zone to be a touchdown, it's safe to say they would have lost this ball game. But they played stout football, 4 downs and out. A questionable pass interference led to extra downs for Oklahoma State. And guess what? They bowled their back up and played outstanding football. Heck of a year for Baylor and Dave Aranda.
How about that final drive in Baylor stopping Oklahoma State? And Jaron McVay, a game of inches, and he stops him as he's running to the corner of the end zone. I mean, just stop after stop after stop after stop.
But remember, what led to that opportunity was another inch-like play, the tackle that prevented the touchdown. That's why coaches emphasize all the time, play until you hear the whistle. Never get lackadaisical. But this was a thing of beauty. And like this play right here, just the hustle, the commitment, playing relentless like football, this was huge. This is a coaching tape. This is what you want to show any defender in football. Never give up. 4 downs and out in the goal line. That's something that you harp on. That's something that you emphasize. And that led to the Big 12 title for Baylor, because if they became lackadaisical, relaxed, comfortable, it's safe to say they would have lost this ball game. But any time Oklahoma State got to the red zone, got inside the 5, they played some of their best football, Baylor defense that is, and because of that, they are the Big 12 champions.
Jaron McVay, the senior, making the game-saving tackle as Baylor hangs on to win the Big 12 championship despite being shut out in the second half. They did not score a point in the second half, and they hang on to win 21-16.
How well their defense played.
Well, that's what Dave Aranda is known for, right?
No
he was defensive guru at LSU. Yeah. He comes to Baylor, and he's obviously built that program into a contender in the Big 12. So is there a path now for Baylor to get into the college football playoff with 2 losses and a Big 12 championship on their resume?
The only path I can think of, chaos has to happen. They need Cincinnati to lose. They need Alabama to lose. They need Michigan to lose. So they need 3 of the top 4 teams currently in the playoff rankings to lose to have a shot. Because, yes, they have 2 losses,
yes,
but winning the Big 12 means something, to say the least. It means something. So me personally, that's the chaos they need. You have to look at what they did today, beating the number 5 team in the country, but they need 3 teams to lose that's currently in. And if those 3 teams loses, you better believe Notre Dame will get a spot for sure. So that could pave the way for Baylor, but they need a lot of chaos.
Well, let's take a look at the resumes.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the resumes. Baylor compared to Notre Dame, and here it is. As it sits right now, Notre Dame 6th. They do not have a game left on their schedule. Of course, they'll play in a bowl game, but they could be getting into the college football playoff. Baylor obviously going to get into a bowl game regardless here of what happens, but they have a shot here at getting into the college football playoff if, in fact, there is chaos that ensues on this day. Their key wins in the Big 12 championship. They avenged the loss earlier in the season to Oklahoma State. Their bad loss was against TCU, a 2-point loss to the Horned Frogs.
Yeah.
And that might keep them out of the college football playoff. Things start to get a little dicey here as the day rolls on.
No question.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.